Hi everybody, my name's Andrew and today I'm not driving my BMW F31 330 xDrive, and that's because by the time you're watching this video, it's gone. That's right, I've traded it in on something new that I'll talk more about later. But today I wanted to give you guys kind of an ownership wrap-up of that car, talk about what it was like to live with for a year and 20,000 miles, and also how much it cost me during that time. So let's go for a drive and get into that. For those that don't know, this is actually my second F30 platform car, and I have to say the ownership experience of this one was way better than the first one. In fact, the reason I got rid of the first one was because it was starting to come to the end of its life mechanically. It was starting to have a whole bunch of issues, which of course begs the question, why did I buy a second one then? Well, I just really like the F30. Even as a heavier all-wheel drive wagon, it's still a fantastic car to drive. Great driving position, great ergonomics. You know, with the tune, it was decently quick for what it was. And the interior was aging a little bit, but overall, I think the design was aging pretty well. And I was kind of hoping that this one, being several years newer and having half the miles of my first one, would be a better experience from a reliability standpoint. And for the most part, I was right. The car did have some issues, like the Bluetooth glitches and other little electronic things. And there was also a check engine light for an O2 sensor at one point. But it was actually nothing major enough to warrant spending money to fix. In fact, the check engine light, I cleared the code and it never came back. So I didn't really worry about that too much. And as far as regular maintenance cost, it was pretty much on par with what you would expect from a German car. Oil changes cost me $120 a piece, and I did 3 of them. I tried to do them at 5,000 intervals, but due to logistics with road trips and such, I had to do the third one closer to 10,000. And at the same time as the first oil change, I also did a brake fluid flush, because BMW recommends you do that every 4 years, which was around the same cost as an oil change. So for a nice round number, we'll say $500 in total for basic maintenance. It is worth taking into consideration that everybody's basic maintenance costs are probably going to be slightly different, because I got lucky that I didn't have to replace anything like tires or brakes or anything big like that. So your results may vary. But that said, the overall cost of basic maintenance items is not significant compared to any other German car, I don't think. Something that is significant though, especially right now, is fuel cost. I picked a great time, I must say, to trade my little 4-cylinder BMW for a big V8 truck, but that's a story for another video. The numbers I'm going to give you here are a little bit low. We're going to sound a little bit low, I should say, because compared to what we're paying now, they are. The average cost of 93 in my area for the year that I had the BMW was $3.50 a gallon. It fluctuated anywhere from $3.30 to $3.80 on the later end of that. And given that I drove about 20,000 miles, I got about 400 miles or so per tank. I filled up roughly 50 times at an average cost of $50 to $55 per tank. Man, must be nice, right? So overall, my average gas cost for the year with the BMW was roughly $2,600. And now I'm paying like $100 a tank. Finally, the last thing I wanted to talk about is depreciation. Because if you remember when I did this type of video with my Volkswagen Alltrack, I lost quite a bit of money on that car. However, thanks to the insane bubble that the used car market is in right now, I actually traded my 330 for the same price I bought it for a year later with 20,000 miles more on it. So I bought the car for around 30 grand with about 30,000 miles and traded it for the same price, which means that I basically didn't lose anything on it. However, I do want to take into account that I did spend $600 on the tune, and I left the tune on it when I traded it in. So technically, I'm out $600, which means that overall my ownership cost for the year with the 330 was roughly $3,700. and that's actually less than it cost me to run my all-track for 6 months. So I'd say overall it worked out pretty well, and much better than my first F30 experience. Overall, it was a good car, and I had a lot of fun with it. And you may be wondering, what's next? Well, if you're a massive car nerd like I am, you've probably already figured out what I've been driving today. But if you haven't, stay tuned for the next video where I do a full introduction walk around of this truck. If you have any F30 related questions or BMW related questions, drop them in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video or found it informative, give it a thumbs up or consider subscribing because I have plenty more content with this car and others.